Greetings, I'm Dan Moore. I'm pastor of a small church in southern Maryland, and I'm also a Protestant chaplain at a veterans home nearby. And I just want to take a moment about ways that we can think outside the box in small ministry venues. Maybe it's a church plant, maybe it's in a region where churches tend to be small, like a rural community or an inner city storefront church. Maybe you have an independent ministry where you do chaplaincy, among other things. And there's different ways that we can take advantage of today's technology. I'm using a small digital video camera and on a little tripod that can fit inside my backpack. I have a little pocket digital voice recorder that I use for recording my sermons. I have an iPad, and I also use a laptop. My laptop's my workhorse for a lot of things. I know iPads may or may not be able to replace some of the things that laptops do, but I still tend to lean heavily on my laptop. But I do use my iPad for preaching and for other items. Sometimes in an area where you have Wi-Fi available and you have a Wi-Fi enabled iPad, or maybe you pay for the data service, then you can go directly to YouTube and you can find worship music there, even just the words and the songs, and with a proper projector, you can have a nice worship service in a very small venue. We just need to think outside the box on how we can minister to people, have a quality experience in worship and ministry, without investing in tons and tons of items. Just a few simple items I have found work very well, and you just use them very well. Again, it depends upon if you have Wi-Fi, if you have other connections as well. It's very helpful, and in the United States, we are so much more connected than we were 10 or 15 years ago that it's wise to use what's out there. You might consider using Facebook. Facebook can connect to other areas that you can share your files with. I have a cloud storage for my audio recordings and for my video recordings and pictures. And I set up a Facebook page for my ministry so people can download MP3 files of sermons or download videos as they need, whether it's church members or not. I remember years ago when I first entered the ministry, the big thing was cassettes. And in fact, I was in a church plant where the pastor, again thinking outside the box, went down to Radio Shack and he bought a little portable cassette player for about 15 bucks. He bought a little microphone that was on a long cord. This was long before Bluetooth and all that. And he found the one with the longest cord because he tended to walk a little bit when he was preaching, and he would tape record his own sermons. Later, when I was in a church that had a facility, I wasn't in a church plant setting, but I was in a regular church. We had a sound booth, and that required having volunteers. I think that's where the rub sometimes comes with small churches that are just starting out. You don't have the volunteer base as an established church. So you need to be very flexible. You need to think outside the box to be able to minister to people in ways that, for your shut-ins who want to hear the sermons. It used to be you'd drop by or you'd mail your cassettes to the individuals. Now that's changed to CDs, and now we have just streaming. So there's many, many ways. I'm sure probably some might be laughing who are watching this as Pastor Will, well beyond that. We know things that you might even not know about. But I'm just sharing for those who are entering and they want to know, what can I do? How can I get the word out? How can I get the message out? How can I comfort people who are shut-ins and people who don't have computers per se? They might still have an old cassette, or they might still have an old DVD or a CD player. We need to be thinking of all these different ways we can get things to them that are who need comfort. And we also need to think of ways of being mobile. I see the church being more and more mobile in many settings. If you're one who's going to go in the mission field outside these United States, then this might even be better for you, because A lot of countries and cultures don't have the technology we have. It's just starting to get there. I remember back around 2005, 2006, about 10 years ago, going on mission trips to Mexico. And the pastor there had a small congregation. They didn't have all the perks and wonders that we had, but he had a laptop. He found a small sound system, and he had people that he knew who could play piano, and they would play the songs. He would record it, and he'd translate it into files, and put it on his laptop. And so the laptop would be the source of the worship music connected to the portable amplifier and speaker system for the church that he was in. If he was thinking outside the box, and if there was other ways that he could get music files, he would go down to the local internet cafe and take his, at that time, 3.5-inch floppy disk, that's dating, or later the USB, and get whatever files he could legally download and then take to the church. They didn't have a screen at that time, but he was looking forward to getting all those things as well. But this is what we have to do. We have to, be wise as serpents, but innocent as doves in today's environment. And again, the day of the cassette ministry, well, in some parts of the world, it still may be very possible to have a cassette ministry, but that technology is pretty much gone in the United States. Today, it's just the data files that we put on our computer, send it over the internet, put it in places to store, and then have ways of linking up to connect it so that people at home can download. But not everybody has computers or computer savvy, particularly an older generation that wasn't raised on it. Again, I serve at a veterans home, and a lot of those veterans still don't know what a computer is. They don't know what, they've heard about the internet. They may or may not have an email account. So we deal with a whole variety of people. And then with a younger generation coming up who's so connected, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these other things are things that we have to think about. How are we going to reach these people? How do we get the word out to them? How do we minister to them? And so we have to take advantage of all the things that we have. Well, take care, and God bless.